Today we're going to be doing a One Piece deck profile of Boa Hancock Blue Yellow out of OP14. We're going to be going over my card choices and what I'm currently playing in the current rotation for One Piece and post OP15, so stay tuned. So before we begin, I just wanted to say thanks again for checking out my previous Pokemon deck profiles. If you haven't, I encourage you guys to look at check them out. They'll be at the end cards below, as well as I'll put them in the pinned comments so you guys can check it out. The previous video I did was a Mega Lucario deck. If you guys are interested in learning about how to play Pokemon, I would encourage you guys to watch my previous videos. But onto the current topic, which is the One Piece Boa Hancock deck. I really enjoy this deck. It's probably one of my favorite yellow decks, next to actually probably surpasses Yamato for me at this point. Not because I don't like Yamato, it's more the fact that I feel like Bandai always tries to hold back that deck when it comes to releasing pieces that could help it, and in favor of like helping other yellow decks, which is fine, honestly. Is that double attack is kind of a very, if like uncarefully balanced, it can be really strong. And I think Bandai is just making sure that that deck doesn't just become way too strong. And it's still a fun deck though, honestly. But I've been kind of rocking Boa because I just love her ability, which is during your opponent's turn, whenever a character comes into play, draw a card. And her Dawn ability, which makes it so that your opponent can't like just go after the Kuja Pirate characters, which is if she has a Dawn underneath once per turn, if one of my Amazon Lily or Kuja Pirate characters with a base 5k or less gets knocked out, my opponent takes a life. So this helps. It's a deck where not only are you like life manipulating and healing yourself, but you're also like trying to spam the board to swing wide, as well as kind of just chipping away at your opponent's overall, like basically overall game plan. So now that I've kind of explained the leader, I'm gonna go over my deck list. I do not have the sought after Borsalino from EB, I think 04, or actually an OP15, because of the fact that I'm currently waiting for the price on that card to kind of level off, because I want to be able to make the deck in I just prefer playing on a budget for One Piece, since it's not my main game. And because of that, the only thing I like to alt art is usually the leaders. I don't usually like to get alt art like characters. So hence why for me with One Piece, I try to, if I can, get the best deals for my buck. So besides that, I also just didn't get a chance to get into like seeing people like wheeling and dealing with people to see if they have the OP the Borsalino, because everybody's going after it right now. So I'm gonna wait till the market settles and demand kind of stabilizes before I go after the Borsalino. So I'm playing something else instead of it, and you'll see it in a bit. So let's get onto the deck, since I've just been rambling for a while. So we'll start off with the consistency piece. I am playing 4 copies of the Lilith. So the reason why I'm playing Lilith is because it is just overall a good, since this deck is majority triggers, it's just a good searcher to have. I'm not playing Marguerite because I'm trying to run a healthy mix of other good utility cards. And since I'm not playing the 0 cost event that you're the one that's supposed to disappear, I wanted to kind of streamline the deck to make it a little bit more trigger focused. So we're playing 4 copies of Lilith. Keeping up with the theme of trigger focus, we're playing 4 copies of Kozuki Hiyori, since it allows you to set up your triggers if your opponent's at 3 or less life. And it's probably it's one of the main targets that I try to bounce back to my hand with what's that card? Let me pull it up right now. Slave Arrow. Sorry, my brain was just frying. And it's also a generic 2k counter that's really helpful. And She also pairs well with her Amazon Lily counterpart, which is Gloriosa. So we're also playing 4 copies of that, and it has the same ability, except it's also a trigger card, which has the ability when it's triggered, play it, and then you get to use the Hiyori effect. So we're playing 4 Gloriosa and 4 Hiyori because why not have like 8 copies of the same card? Next, I play 4 copies of Salome. I've noticed in my matchups, besides the Boa blocker, I needed a couple more blockers that could help me. One thing I am interested in testing is there's a Hiyori blocker that gives you an additional life if it gets knocked out by just simply discarding a card, which gives me discard outlet since this deck does run about 12 bricks in the deck, including 12 character bricks, 14 if you consider, not 14, 16 if you consider the 2 copies of Gravity Blade and then Perfume Femur. So probably having that would be a good replacement since it does a similar job as Borsellino, except when it gets KO'd, it gives me the heal, which is really nice. Allows me to stay alive a little bit longer. One of the cards that I'm playing that is kind of unorthodox for most like Boa decks is Kikunojo. The reason why I'm playing Kikunojo is it's a 6k body that if you trigger it, you have an easy, not only a draw, but just a free 6k swing. And the problem with most Boa decks is most of their characters are base 5k in the early game, and base 6ks are a lot better in my opinion, because then all you would need to do, like the numbers that you want to swing in at your opponent is usually about 7 to 9k in late game, and this is an easy 7k swing with just 1 Dawn investment, which is really helpful. And plus, even if you don't get the minus life if they knock this out, you do at least get the heal if your opponent is 3 or less life, which is, again, it basically helps, it pays for itself, and it's an attacker that your opponent is most likely not gonna want to hit if they're gonna try game you, which means you can kind of, it's an easy beat stick that you can use to swing wide with. Next, I play 4 copies of the Boa blocker from the trial deck, from the starter deck. It's generically the most important card of the deck. If you don't have it, I feel like Boa, like, you have a hard time building Boa, because not only does this allow you to manipulate the top 3 cards of your deck, but it allows you not only put a Dawn underneath the leader, which guarantees already the second effect, but it's a blocker. So if you have to like absorb an attack, at least when you block with this, you get to trigger this Boa's ability and trade lives with your opponent, which is really important. Plus, it's also searchable. Like, I was thinking about running the Gloriosa Searcher just because, like, there is a Kuja focused deck that I have in the chamber. It's just that I wanted to play kind of a more this is just more of a fun build for me. Speaking of like important cards, this is another important card that you need, and this is an EBO 3. 4 copies of this 5-drop Nami. Like, at first I was a disbeliever of it, but after like actually picking these up and testing it in the deck, it's just really strong. So on play, if your opponent has, I think, 3 or more life, yep, they take a life. You force them to take a life, and then when it's knocked out, oh yeah, and then also you get to put a Dawn underneath your leader, which is important. So you get to deal damage to your opponent, and then essentially deal damage to your opponent, and then put a Dawn underneath your leader, which is really good because you want to be able to proc the Boa's second ability as often as you can when you have the Kuja Pirates or Amazon Lily characters on board. And when it gets knocked out, you get to play a character with 6k power or less from your hand. So most of the time, if they knock this out, I'm either going to play the blocker, a Kikunojo, another blocker, or in some cases maybe even the Hiyori, not the Hiyori, the 2-drop Hiyori, the 2-cost Hiyori. So this allows you to kind of just refresh the board and replace itself, as well as kind of speed up the gameplay against your opponent in terms of life trade. Another card that's really important. I was originally skeptical of this card, like the value on it, but as soon as I managed to pick up the copies at a trade show and actually try it out in the deck, I was like, you know what, it's really strong, which is 4 copies of the Kuma. I know it's one of the most expensive cards in the deck. You have to run this. Being able to just on play discard a card, basically discard a brick from your hand, and then add a card to your life, allows you to keep your allow you to be a little bit more greedy with your damage play with your life, and it allows you to kind of just keep staying alive in the game, because that's the one thing that yellow decks tend to do best, which is trying to stay alive, and Kuma helps you like just stay in the game. I know in other yellow decks this is a staple, but I feel like for Boa it's a mandatory. Like you need the Kuma. Now the 2/6 costs that make this deck a really strong deck. The first one is 4 copies of Gorgon Sisters. So Gorgon Sisters is just freaking nuts. It's like the best card in the deck. Like it's the best 6 costs in the deck, because it allows you essentially, by revealing 3 Amazon Lily or Kuja Pirate cards from your hand, you get to attach any number of Rested Dawn to your leader and each of your characters, but you can only give 1 Rested Dawn. But if you have multiples on the board, you get to stack this ability while still playing out key characters like this Shakuyaku, or even a Kuma on board, like if you have to play Kuma, and then you get to heal out. Not only get to heal out, but then you get to put all that Dawn that you paid off into your attackers and then just swing. So like it's one of the reasons why this deck is really strong. And I think from my playtesting and even talking with my friends, this is one of the reasons why this deck is just such like a Boa is such an oppressive deck, because you get to just play out all your characters either during your opponent's turn from the damage zone from your life, or play them on board. And if you have Gorgon Sisters on the board, you get to basically refund yourself from all the Dawn that you've rested and put it onto your characters to swing with it. It's just really strong. And then same thing with Shakuyaku. So Shakuyaku, the reason why she's good is she's hand filtering. That can be played at any point, and it's a 6 cost character. So like sometimes, but in order to get the draw, you have to have 8 or more Dawn. Oh no, not 8 or more Dawn. 3 or more less life cards in the life zone. But even then, after you get to that point, you're just popping off with this card, because it not only allows you to dig deeper into your deck, but it's just a free beat stick that you can use in combination with the Gorgon Sisters, as well as the Kuma, the Nami, and even the Kikunojo, just to swing wide easily. That's why I like this deck, because being able to just manipulate your Dawn into giving your characters more power to swing into your opponent and force your opponent to bleed their hand for the constant numbers of 6k to 7k swings repeatedly every turn is just really nuts. And then lastly, for our last character, 4 copies of the 9-drop Boa, which is essentially the better version of Big Mom. When it comes into play, you get to take, so long as your leader is a 7 Warlords character, you can heal put the top card of your deck into your life, and then your opponent has to take a life. So not only, it's basically Big Mom. I think it's the same as the 10-drop Big Mom, except it's a Warlord trait and it's a trigger. So when you trigger this character, discard it, and then you get to play another trigger character from your hand at 6k power or less onto the board, so it replaces itself. But most of the time you're trying to hold on to at least 1 or 2 copies in your hand, so that way you can kind of spam this towards the late game. So you can heal 1 when you reach 9 Dawn, and you play another one to heal another. And then if you have the Gorgon Sisters, you get to just swing repeatedly. So like in my game test with this deck, it's just a really fun, like this card is just really broken for Warlord decks. And with the new Blackbeard, I am trying to get actually 2 more copies. They already have an extra 2, and if I can get 4 more, I'm running that in the Blackbeard deck and keeping the ones in here for this deck. It's just overall, I just love Boa. It's just a really strong deck. And then lastly, for our events, 2 slave arrow, which is a 4K counter where you get to bounce a character from your that is 2 costs or more from that you control. So basically you're gonna bounce, most of the time you're gonna either bounce the Kuma, the Hiyori. I've sometimes even bounced the Gorgon sisters to protect it from being like attacked into, and you just get to protect yourself as well. And then obviously Perfume Femur because it stops blockers. And then our only removal of for blue right now, Gravity Blade Raging Tiger. So we're playing that. So I hope you guys like this deck. I am going to be showcasing, if you guys want a more Kuja focused, Kuja Pirate version of this deck. If you do, please comment below if you want me to show you guys the Kuja Pirate build, because it's actually, I feel like the Kuja Pirate build is more consistent, but it doesn't swing as wide as I feel with this deck, because the attackers that deck has are very weak, versus this deck where you get to swing wide and you're swinging hard, like you're just hitting for higher numbers, which helps increase your likelihood of just winning the game. So hopefully you guys like this video. I will be doing more One Piece videos. The next deck profile that I'm thinking about doing, and I'll show you guys the deck. We are going to revisit my favorite deck, because I finally got my favorite green deck, which is Mihawk. I finally got the updated pieces that I needed for this deck. I want to showcase to you guys what I've been doing with this deck. So I hope you guys are ready for that. I'm going to be doing a revisited on the Mihawk deck. I will also be doing a revisit on my Ace deck, as well as my Yamato deck. I do have some ideas that I've been cooking with that deck, and it's just for, again, I want to stress, I do play it semi-competitively One Piece, but because my work schedule, I don't normally go to tournaments. I usually just play online with people. I am planning on doing more events, but overall I just like the game One Piece, the game. So I will be doing more videos like this in the near future. So don't forget, again, once again, don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, false crack that like button, and stay on point, guys. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out, YouTube.